What's up, gamers? You came here because you want to know all about how to play the biggest Russian baddie this side of the Mississippi, Zarya. And I get it. Zarya is my main character in Overwatch and has been for a long time. She has the ability to absolutely demolish enemy teams and can make or break the game if you know how to play her right. I'm going to give you the ultimate Zarya guide for beginners that will have you graviton surging your way to Grandmaster in no time. And I'm going to do it in under 5 minutes. Sound good? Let's start the clock. And let's get it. Zarya's main weapon is her particle cannon. This cannon has two different modes of firing. Her primary fire is a particle beam that shoots out 15 meters in a straight line. The alternate firing mode shoots out a ball of energy which does more AoE damage and can knock people back. Both of these are affected by her power level, which maxes out at 100. When Zarya is at a low power level, it can seem like you're smacking people around with a wet noodle. However, when she's powered up, she can melt through squishy enemies with ease. Zarya bubbles are everything, and knowing when and how to use them properly is essential to playing Zarya well. It's where your power comes from and your sustainability. As Zarya, you have two bubbles you can use: a self bubble, the particle barrier, and a friendly bubble, the projected barrier. These bubbles currently last up for a total of 2 seconds or until destroyed with 200 HP. It is important to know that it only takes 1 HP of barrier to block, let's say, a D.Va ultimate. These bubbles also are what charge up your particle cannon's damage. Your ultimate goal is to have your charge at 100 as much as possible. Each bubble can ultimately give you 40 energy toward your overall charge and will slowly deteriorate over time. If you ever played Zarya in the past in Overwatch 1, you'll now notice you have 2 collective charges for your barriers instead of just 1 each. This adds more versatility to your fighting style, but we'll talk strategy in just a moment. Zarya easily has one of the nastiest ultimates in the entire game, and it can easily be a make or break move for any round in Overwatch, especially if you combo it with some other abilities from your teammates. Her Graviton Surge pulls every single enemy within its range into it, rendering them basically immobile while it's active. This can easily stop the enemy team in their tracks and cause them to burn out some of their abilities. However, it is important to know that her ultimate can be deflected by Genji and absorbed by D.Va. All right, now that you know what Zarya can do, let's talk about how to implement them. First, you have to divide each game into about 2 categories. The first one is the initial poke, and this is crucial to pushing as Zarya. While each team is trading shots and trying to push back the other one, this is the time to really focus in on getting your particle cannon to maximum charge. Once you get there, you enter the second category, the team fight and push. Once you have your energy up and you manage to get your cooldowns back, you're way more likely to do massive amounts of damage.
Now that's a lot of damage!
And tank the oncoming damage from the enemy team. At this point, you're going to be melting through the enemy based on your charge. It's also so important to push and poke heavily when you're at high charge, considering that you do a massive amount of damage. A fully charged Zarya is nasty to everyone. One of the most important key things about your bubbles, though, is your timing. With Zarya's barriers, timing is everything. As a general rule of thumb, do not, I repeat, do not use a bubble before you've taken any damage, unless you know that you're about to prevent a massive amount of damage. Zarya has a pretty decent health pool, and the bubbles only last a total of about 2 seconds. If you wait until you know you're taking damage, you are far more likely to get as close to 40 charge from that bubble. Also, if the enemies are smart, they'll stop shooting you when you bubble up. If they're already in the middle of shooting you, they're far less likely to stop than if you preemptively bubble. It's also beneficial to keep an eye on your teammates and which ones are making their way into the fray and potentially taking the most damage. Usually there's some sweaty Genji going out there into the midst of the battle, and you can get some sweet energy juice off of them.
Nice.
One of the biggest mistakes that Zarya players make is focusing the tanks on the enemy team. Zarya does massive amounts of damage, so it's easy to think that you can take on the world. However, that's all the more reason to focus the squishy enemies on the other team. At 100 energy, Zarya does about 170 damage per second. So enemies like Tracer are disintegrated in about 1 second from a continuous line of Zarya's particle cannon. As tempting as it may be to try and take down the enemy D.Va right away, the squishies are where you should be focusing your attention. While on the topic of targeting, I gotta be the bad guy here. You need to stop waiting for the perfect ultimate. Listen, every Zarya player wants the moment in glory where you can ult the entire team and melt them all down, but it's actually ruining your chances at getting good. It's important to know that getting your ultimate off on a couple squishier champions is just as effective, if not more effective, than going for the entire team. A lot of Zarya players will hold onto their ultimate for so long that in fact they may have been able to get it again by the time they use it. It's okay not to get the team kill with it. It can disrupt the team fight enough for your team to confidently kill the rest of their team off and win the fight. Are we still good? Sorry I had to do that to you. Also, it's always good to make sure that if you're fighting someone like D.Va, to make sure her defense matrix has recently been used or she's not paying attention. Nothing is more frustrating than getting your ultimate eaten by a D.Va. Another important thing to remember as Zarya is to always be communicating with your team, especially when it comes to your Graviton Surge. There's a lot of different heroes that pair well with Zarya's ult, and when used together can easily turn the tide of battle. Nothing is more satisfying than the old Wombo combo with Graviton Surge and D.Va's Explodey robot move. As a bonus tip, you can use your alternative fire mode to help you launch up to other places. You will take a little bit of damage, however, there are some places in the map that you will gain access to by being able to do this. You just don't want to use it too much and find yourself really low on health and then easily get killed by a Sombra. Did we do it? Was it under 5 minutes? I don't know, I guess I'll find out in the editing. Do me a favor, if you found this video helpful, make sure to leave a like and hit subscribe if you want to see more like this. For all things Overwatch, check this out and I'll see you over there.